Hello. This lecture is about how to review the literature for your research project, and what I'm going to say now applies to the project you're doing with your group at the moment, and then to other things that you might do in the future on your own. I'm going to talk about the idea of a literature review, and this is a quote from someone who's written a whole book on this subject, who I've quoted in my textbook, and he says that it's your responsibility to find out what already exists in the area in which you propose to do some research, and that having done that review, that gives you a foundation for doing your own research, what he calls the research proper. So what we mean by the literature when we talk about a literature review is what already exists. In other words, research which has already been done, which has been written up, which has been published. And it's the literature about the topic that you're going to do your research in. Working in an English department, of course, the term literature means many things, but in the context of doing some language research, it means what's been published about the area that you want to do some research in. You need to learn how to do a literature review because you're going to be doing independent research for this group project, and then for your individual project, and then for your dissertation or research project later on. And indeed, when you know how to do a literature review, you can go beyond the literature that your tutors recommend when you're in your other modules too. So in that sense, it's a transferable skill. Knowing how to do a literature review empowers you to access all kinds of reading for projects you might need to do in the future. Knowing where to get information is a very empowering thing, because it takes you away from the dependence on other people telling you what the knowledge is, and makes it possible for you to find it for yourself. As before, you won't be surprised to know that I've written about it in the textbook in increasing detail from the introductory section A through slightly more detail in B, and a bit more probing and critical in section C. So doing a literature review puts some responsibility onto you, and that can be daunting, as can other aspects of doing independent research, but you can start with things you already know. So you will have been recommended to do various bits of reading in Language Works A, Language Works B, in your independent study, and in any of the modules that touch on the topic you might be wanting to use in this project. As well as any reading you've been given, there'll always be some additional reading linked to that reading. So the bibliographies and reference lists at the back of books and at the end of articles will be relevant reading. Not all of them, obviously, you'll have to sift through them, but they give you a starting point to go and read a bit more widely. And in the second of these talks, I'll explain about slightly more advanced ways of identifying material to read. Do get to know the library. It's a big building, but a lot of it is increasingly virtual and online. So go to the library, browse the books on the shelves by all means, but in addition to that, do have a look at the website linked to the library. Explore what the resources are and learn how to use them. You've got all these things that will help you and take you further than perhaps you've already made use of the library so far. So do look into what's available, and do this together with other people in your group. 2 of you, 3 of you, all of you can investigate the resources that are available through the library. If you go to the home page when you go to the library, you can see these various resources that can help you with making use of the library, including the e-library, which I'm going to talk about later on, and a video that tells you about using the library, and there is also a WebCT section on how to use the library. So what you're learning is the knowledge about the subject that you're researching, but you're also learning about some of the methods that can be used in this kind of research. So when you see what people have found out, ask yourself, how did they find it out? Because that can be helpful to you as you choose your methods too. And people should also have framed questions and said, this is what I was looking at, this is what I was trying to find out, this is what other people have found out. So it can help you in framing your own questions. Also, you're learning skills to use resources, physical resources like books, electronic resources like bibliographic databases, which is a big mouthful, but I'll explain what it means in a little while. How to keep records. It's so frustrating if you find something really useful in a book, maybe make a note of the quote and then don't make a note of where you found it, and you have to go back through the whole process again to find where you found that quote. So record keeping is very important. And also summarising key points, not copying out a whole book because all of it is useful, but recognising which bits to take notes from, which bits you can skip, which bits you can summarise in a very reduced way, and how much use your notes are to you when you come back and look at them. Get used to recognising what sort of a note taker you are and how you can improve your note taking skills. And absolutely crucial is citing and referencing accurately. There's the whole spectre of plagiarism and getting into trouble for reproducing someone else's words as if they were your own that worries people. But in addition to that, it's just good academic practice not to forget where you read something so that another reader can find it and follow up your references. So learning to cite properly, which is where you make reference to a source in your text, and to reference accurately, which is where you put the list of sources you've consulted into some sort of list at the end. So you can revisit this lecture as you can the others whenever you need to do that. And meanwhile, good luck with doing your literature review. Bye for now.